Jess Darling.
And this is Kindra Heavens.
Thank you so much for tuning into our show.
Bedsheets and Broomsticks. Tune into thatsogaylive.com for all of our episodes.
Make sure you let us know what you think.
Leave us comments, questions, and we're happy to respond.
I was aware that I could sense things beyond the physical when I was very young. A kid, I remember being as young as 5 or 7 and sensing and feeling things around me. It was when my grandmother passed away when I was about 7 years old. And I could start to feel her around me, and I started to talk to my mom about understanding my grandmother, things about her, details I would try to put together, ask my mom, hey, what kind of perfume did grandma used to wear? Little things like that, because I was starting to understand and become more aware that there were things beyond us.
So being a psychic for a living is definitely not anything I thought that I would be doing when I grew up. It's not what I dreamed about. It kind of just came to me.
It was mainly just it was a sense of knowingness. I always had a sense of knowingness that things were around me. I never really visually saw anything with my physical eyes. I always sensed it. Now knowing, doing what I do, it was a sense of knowingness coming through my crown chakra, that things were just around me. It was easy as them just sitting right next to us. It wasn't anything mysterious.
I felt like it was something that was calling to me, that I couldn't ignore anymore. Growing up, I just ignored all the feelings that I had, anything crazy, anything I couldn't explain, anything I couldn't see. I was raised atheist, so I just ignored it. Just ignored, believing that it would go away, and it never went away. And it really just became stronger. So I started to realize that there's something there for me, there's a message there, there's something I need to pay attention to. Which is how I started to study clairvoyance and study the ability to train your mind to get to a place where receiving energy is just a natural part of life.
A couple of them scared me. There were a couple of times with beings that I believe that beings have a sense of knowing where our fears are, and then they would come in and make you a little fearful. So there were times that I think beings, kind of played with me, messed with me a little bit. I didn't quite know or understand what it was about, and it was just a matter. As a kid, you kind of shuddered and, under the blankets. But, as I grew older, I just shifted my awareness, and, as I fell asleep, that's when it mainly happened, when I fell asleep, when you're in between those worlds.
The day that I made the shift to commit to studying and understanding spirituality was the darkest day of my life. I had ignored these feelings for so long and shut that part of myself off for so long that I didn't realize how much pain I was in. I didn't realize that being unconscious to spirituality was so painful, and I was self-medicating through everything, just in a lifestyle, substances at a point to try to ease that pain. And eventually with anything like that, you do hit rock bottom. You can't avoid it. If you're self-medicating with coffee, with alcohol, with prescription pills, anything, any form of addiction, you will eventually hit rock bottom, and I did. And it was at that point where I realized I had 2 ways I could go. I could discontinue living, or I could start living. And it was that day that I made that decision. I'm going to start living. And I started to realize I need to help myself understand myself, who I am, and I am more than what I can see. And that was where the journey began. And it really feels like when you hit that place of rock bottom, you feel and you start to kind of give up control of your life and allow the magic in. It feels like you get a grasp of that first rung of a ladder. And as soon as you get that grasp, you want the next one. And as soon as you get the next one, you want the next one. And you get yourself to a point where you feel like, oh, my head is above water now. I feel great. And then that hunger and that drive to continue to keep climbing just never ends. And so through that, I went to spirituality centers. I got in touch with meditation, got in touch with myself, really started some beginner courses. And I was never satisfied. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. So I began to study clairvoyance, taking actual courses in meditation that train you to put your mind into a place where you can receive energy. We're always producing energy. We're always giving our opinion. We're always judging other people. We're always producing energy into the world. Very rarely do we stop to receive it.
I believe that ghosts and beings and spirits reside on the astral plane. They reside on higher dimensions and lower dimensions. They do reside on the third dimension. At times they'll pop through, they'll manifest enough energy for us to hang on to. Boo! And they'll come out and then they'll kind of fade away. I believe that they reside on multiple dimensions, higher dimensions than I believe that we're even aware of right now.
When I first started to go to college and tried to decide what degree I wanted to get my bachelor's in, I started off with psychology because I really wanted to understand the individual. And as I took those first lower division courses, I got my first taste of sociology, which is somewhat of psychology, but it mixes everyone into the same pot, where you start to study how the energies interact with each other and the diverse energies and how they combine, rather than just studying an individual. And as soon as I took that very first class of Sociology 101, I was just hooked, completely hooked. Feeling the different types of people and understanding how they interacted with each other. Sociology is the study of social life and culture and how people respond to each other, and then in turn to themselves, and then in turn to each other. And so as I continued my education and taking the upper division sociology courses, that's really what led me into trying to understand a deeper level. Because in sociology, it's people studying people. So there's that level of separation to where you're reading what other people feel or study about other people. And then clairvoyance, I found that in my very senior year, getting my bachelor's, and that clairvoyance just gave me that opening straight to the truth. It kind of lifted just one last veil that the general education that we're taught doesn't. And clairvoyance really took it to another level for me.
It's very important that you do set your boundaries with ghosts, so then that way they understand where they end and where you begin. And it's really, you can't rely on the ghost or the entity or the spirit or the being to respect your boundaries, because usually if you have a ghost or a being or an entity that is messing with you, most likely they're unwilling to respect your boundaries. So it's very important that you set up your, as my son called it, your force field. Make sure you have a very strong force field, that your aura and your energy is very protected, and that you understand in your space when something is crossing into your boundary.
I realized that I wanted people to understand that things that are different are not necessarily scary, and that to be able to read energy is so empowering. It's empowering for me, for myself, to read the energy going on in my life, and it's empowering for other people. And I've always been interested in people, always interested in psychology, always trying to figure out how I could best help others. And I realized that through developing this aspect of myself, clairvoyance, that I could see the truth in somebody's life. I could help them get connected with that truth. And that brings so much joy and so much peace to people that I couldn't stop. I can't stop.
I believe that the most important tool you can have in wanting a really empowering and positive experience with energies on the other side would be to take the first step and just say hi and see what that feels like. Most of the time, people will relate their intuition to your gut instincts. So if you have a sense that there's something around, check your gut. Try to understand, does this feel good or does this feel bad? And if it feels bad, is it because I'm scared, or is it because you're getting a sense like I'm being followed down the street? Those are two completely different senses of fear. And it's really important that people do cross through that fear, because it's a natural sense of who we are. They're just as much part of our world as we are part of theirs. Some of them just get kicks off of scaring us, and that's legitimate and that's true. I've experienced ghosts and hauntings and beings while I'm clearing clients' homes of them, who just like, oh, well, it's fun because I can. You know, no one's told me to leave yet. Some of them have no idea at all whatsoever, and some of them are scared and they're just stuck between those worlds, and ghosts have found a place to rest and relax and not really be bothered. So The thing about ghosts, if you want to call them ghosts, those are usually the ones that need the most help, in my opinion. They need the most help about understanding what they do. Some of them just need to be left alone. Some ghosts and hauntings you just want nothing to do with. You want to leave them there. And there are some ghosts and energies and beings that hang around us that need help crossing over.
The truth is something that you can't ever escape. You can try to create your life in the way that you think you should, in the way that society tells you you should, or your parents tell you you should, or your friends tell you you should. At the end of the day, you're not going to ever feel completely fulfilled unless you decide to find your truth.
If you're ever in a situation where you feel like you need to be protected from a ghost, energy, or being, my default is, if I sometimes get a little jolted, I don't have time to set up all my tools that I've learned in order to protect my own space, I would just automatically wrap yourself in light. Gold light, white light. Some people like to use white light. I believe that gold energy surrounding you is very, very important. And so automatically just surround yourself with that. Know that you're protected. Ask your spiritual crew to come up behind you and help protect you, and they'll keep you safe.
Studying clairvoyance is not necessarily the path to finding yourself. It was for me, and I realized through that journey that I am a healer. My soul needs to heal to be alive. I need to experience myself subjectively in that position as a healer. And if I don't create that here on the third dimension in this planet with my sociology degree or master's degree in therapy, I'm not going to be able to experience that part of myself. And so finding the truth is really about finding who you are in your true essence, your core essence, and then figuring out a way to manifest that here on the physical plane so that you can exist here as yourself. Instead of just coping, instead of just studying, instead of just being who you think you should be to make your money or to buy your house or to get that car, all these messages we're told what we should be. Finding who you really, really are and living that is really the only way to be alive.
Thank you so much for tuning into our show.
Bedsheets and Broomsticks. Tune into that'sogaylive.com for all of our episodes.
Make sure you let us know what you think.
Leave us comments, questions, and we're happy to respond.